The city of Chicago had never witnessed a crime that would shake its streets, its courts, and its very sense of morality, quite like the events of that humid August night in 2018. Under the flickering neon lights of the West Loop, a single act of violence would ripple across families, neighborhoods, and the national news cycle. Few knew that within the shadows of ordinary apartment blocks, a chilling story was about to unfold, one that would leave witnesses trembling, detectives questioning human motives, and the world asking, how could a murderer plead for mercy after committing an unthinkable act? This is the story that will take you inside the mind of a criminal, expose raw human emotion, and confront the fragile line between justice and vengeance. Disclaimer: content is for awareness and educational purposes only. Viewer discretion advised. Michael Lawson, a 34-year-old man with a seemingly unremarkable life, had cultivated a careful image in his Chicago neighborhood. By day, he was a quiet data analyst. By night, a man whose inner darkness would erupt in a tragedy so brutal it would haunt local residents for years. On August 12th, a heated argument in his apartment escalated into a violent confrontation that left one young man, Darren Collins, on the brink of death. The neighbors recalled the sounds of screaming, the frantic pounding on doors, and the sudden silence that followed, a silence that would shatter their sense of safety forever. Law enforcement was called, arriving to a scene that defied comprehension. Michael, surprisingly calm, yet visibly shaken, was found pleading for the authorities to understand, to see him not as a monster, but as a man who had made a terrible mistake. His demeanor baffled officers, challenging every instinct and protocol they had followed for years. How could a murderer ask for mercy after such a horrific act? And what drove him to believe that his words could alter the course of justice itself? As the investigation began, it became clear that Michael's life was a tapestry of contradictions. Colleagues described him as polite and reserved. Friends recalled a man who could charm and manipulate effortlessly. But beneath that facade lurked impulses that would soon manifest in ways no one could have anticipated. Interviews with family, neighbors, and past acquaintances revealed a pattern. Subtle manipulations, unexplained disappearances of personal items, and a simmering resentment that had gone unnoticed until the night that would define his life forever. And yet, despite the horror, there were questions that haunted investigators even more than the crime itself. Could understanding Michael's psychological state shed light on his actions? Could a plea for mercy, delivered in the immediate aftermath of violence, reveal a deeper human truth about remorse, fear, and survival? Or was it simply another layer of deception from a man who had perfected the art of manipulation? With each revelation, the case grew more complex. Pieces of evidence seemed to contradict witnesses' statements, and Michael's own accounts of the events shifted in subtle but unnerving ways. Detectives began to wonder, were they dealing with a remorseful criminal or a calculated manipulator whose charm had kept him under society's radar for far too long? As the city held its collective breath, questions multiplied. How far does guilt stretch in the human mind? Can mercy be earned in the face of unthinkable violence? And most haunting of all, what truly motivated Michael Lawson to commit a crime that would leave an entire community in fear? As we continue, please comment mercy or manipulation. Share this story with those who seek the truth. Subscribe to Crime Chronicles TVC and turn on the notification bell for more chilling real-life crime stories. The investigation is far from over, and in the next part, the shocking events of that night will unfold in detail, revealing secrets that the city was never ready for. Rain had not yet fallen, but the sky hung low, thick with a heaviness that made even the street vendors pause mid-call. It was the kind of afternoon where the city felt like it was listening, waiting, anticipating something no one could name, but everyone could feel. Aiden walked with his hood up, hands in his pockets, trying to ignore the uneasy rhythm in his chest. The closer he got to the Riverline district, the more he felt that strange pull, like the city itself was guiding him toward a truth he hadn't asked for, but could no longer avoid. What happened yesterday? It wouldn't leave him. The thud of footsteps behind him, the whisper of a warning he didn't fully understand, and the message shoved into his hand moments before chaos erupted. He had tried to convince himself he was imagining things, that the shards of fear in his memory were nothing more than adrenaline. But the message, crumpled now in the deepest part of his pocket, was real, and so was the man who died delivering it. He stopped at the crosswalk. Cars rushed by, people brushed past, yet Aiden felt alone, as if everyone else was part of a scene he was watching, not living. He pulled out the message, a single sentence written in shaky ink. If they reach you first, the truth dies. Who were they, and what truth? Aiden wasn't a fighter. He wasn't involved in anything dangerous. He worked quiet shifts at a repair shop, kept to himself, and avoided trouble whenever he could. But trouble had found him, and it wasn't done. As he crossed the road, a black sedan slowed beside him. Too slow, too intentional. He didn't look at the windows, but his pulse spiked. Cars didn't move like that unless the people inside weren't watching the road. They were watching him. He made a sharp turn into an alleyway, pretending he didn't notice, but every sense sharpened. The hum of engines, the soft flap of laundry lines above, the distant rumble of trains beneath the city. When he emerged from the alley, the sedan was gone, but someone else wasn't. At the far end of the street, near an old phone booth, stood a figure, still, hooded, watching him. They didn't move. They didn't speak. They only lifted one hand and traced a small circle in the air. A signal, a warning, a pattern Aiden had seen once before, right before yesterday's disaster unfolded. His breath hitched, his steps slowed, the world around him muted. The figure turned and disappeared behind the phone booth. Aiden almost followed, but something inside him whispered, "Not yet, not here." So he kept walking, pretending not to notice, pretending not to shake, pretending he wasn't being pulled deeper into something far bigger than himself. The Riverline District awaited him ahead, the place where the message had been meant to lead, the place where answers or more danger waited. Aiden didn't know which he feared more. But as he stepped into the district's twisting corridors of old factories and silent warehouses, he understood one thing with chilling clarity. What had started yesterday wasn't an accident. It was the beginning of a hunt. And now, he was officially in the game. The Riverline District had a way of swallowing sound. Aiden's footsteps echoed softly against rusted metal doors and empty loading docks, each step stretching into the kind of silence that made even breathing feel intrusive. Shadows draped themselves along the walls, like old secrets refusing to die, and the pungent smell of oil and damp concrete clung to the air. Aiden moved cautiously, every sense sharpened by the eerie stillness. He replayed the events of yesterday, the man who shoved the message into his hand, the panic in his eyes, the way he seemed to collapse mid-sentence as if something or someone had struck him before Aiden ever saw an attacker. A murder in broad daylight, right in front of him, yet no weapon, no suspect, no sound. Just a dying whisper. Find the place where the echoes begin. Those words had drawn him here. He reached the old textile warehouse, the one the message's coordinates pointed to. It had been abandoned for nearly 12 years, ever since the fires that gutted half the district. Aiden hesitated. The large sliding door was half open, just enough for a person to slip through. It shouldn't be open. Not by accident. Not after all these years. He forced himself forward. Inside, the warehouse was a cathedral of shadows, high ceilings, broken skylights, charred beams. He inhaled the cold, dusty air and scanned the floor. Scattered footprints marked the grime, fresh ones, leading toward the darkened inner hallway. Aiden knelt, examining them. Different shoe sizes, at least 3 individuals, all recent. Someone had been here. Maybe they still were. He followed the tracks deeper into the warehouse, past rooms where old sewing machines sat like skeletal remains, their needles frozen in time. He stepped into a long corridor and froze. A faint light flickered at the far end, like someone had left a lantern or small lamp on the floor. He inched toward it, cautiously, slow, deliberate, with each heartbeat loud enough to echo.
As he got closer, the truth hit him like a punch. It wasn't a lantern. It was a phone. Still recording. Still blinking. Aiden leaned down, his hand trembling, and tapped the screen. A video played. Grainy. Shaky. Recorded inside this very building. A man appeared on the screen, late 40s, disheveled, panic in his eyes, whispering as if someone might hear him. Aiden's stomach clenched. It was the man who died in his arms yesterday. The same jacket, the same bruised face, the same voice that whispered the warning before he collapsed. But this video was recorded before he reached Aiden. The man spoke urgently into the camera. "If anyone finds this, I don't have much time. They know I broke away. They know I saw the files. This goes deeper than corruption. Deeper than the fire 12 years ago. That fire it wasn't an accident. And the man they framed? Innocent. All of it was staged to hide. Footsteps in the video. The man's eyes widen. He hides the phone. The screen goes black. Aiden staggered back, the weight of the revelation pressing on him. A fire 12 years ago. A man framed. Files. Broken away. Someone chasing him. But before his mind could piece together even a fragment of meaning, he heard something that made his blood turn cold. A floorboard groaning. Not from the hall behind him, from very close. Aiden turned slowly, his breath caught, muscles locked, heart racing. A figure stood at the edge of the shadows. Not the silent, hooded watcher from earlier. Not someone hiding or running. This man stood calm, unmoving.
With the chilling confidence of someone who had been waiting, someone who knew Aiden would come, someone who knew exactly why he was here. A tall frame, black coat, gloved hands, no expression. But the eyes, those cold, assessing eyes, Aiden felt them pierce straight through him. The man spoke, softly, with a tone too controlled to be anything but dangerous. "You found the message." Aiden couldn't move, couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. The stranger stepped forward, slow, steady, deliberate. "Good," a faint, unsettling smile. "Then we can begin." And just like that, Aiden realized something far more terrifying than being hunted. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't coincidence. This wasn't about him stumbling into something. He was chosen, expected, drawn in deliberately. But for what and why? And what deeper secrets lay buried in the ashes of that 12-year-old fire? If this chilling encounter has pulled you deeper into the suspense, and you can feel the tension tightening around this mystery, kindly comment, "I'm following this story below." Share this unfolding tale with someone who loves gripping crime narratives. Subscribe to Crime Chronicles TVC and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the twist waiting in the next chapter of this gripping journey, where the truth is not only dangerous, it's alive. The warehouse swallowed Aiden and the stranger whole, the dim light stretching their shadows across cracked concrete like a silent warning. Aiden took an instinctive step back, but the stranger mirrored him with a slow, calculated advance, as if every movement had already been predicted, rehearsed, controlled. Aiden's palms were damp. His heartbeat thundered against his ribs, but he forced his voice to steady. "Who are you?" he asked, though he doubted the man would answer. The stranger tilted his head slightly, that faint, cold smile tugging again at his lips. "Names complicate things. You're here for answers. I'm here to give you the first one." Aiden swallowed. "What happened to the man who died yesterday?" A short, almost amused breath escaped the stranger, like he found the question childish. He ran from something he shouldn't have seen, something we trusted him with. And when he realized what the files proved, he panicked. A pause. Panic makes people sloppy. Sloppy people die. Aiden felt a chill crawl up his spine. "But why bring me into this? I don't know him. I don't know any of you." The man stopped walking. His boots scraped lightly against the floor as he planted his feet. "You will." He reached into his coat slowly, deliberately. Aiden froze, half expecting a weapon. But instead, the stranger pulled out a small, weathered USB drive and tossed it onto the floor, the metal clinking sharply against the concrete. "This," he said, "is one of the reasons he ran." Aiden didn't move toward it. He didn't trust anything within reach of this man. The stranger noticed. "Relax," he said with a soft chuckle. "If I wanted you dead, you wouldn't be standing." That didn't comfort him. Not at all. 12 years ago, Riverline burned. Everyone called it an accident, a faulty generator, a tragic mishap. He smirked. "But you're smarter than that. Accidents don't erase entire departments. Accidents don't sterilize records. Accidents don't leave clean insurance trails." Aiden's eyes widened. "You're saying it was planned?" The stranger's expression sharpened. Planned? No. He stepped closer. Engineered. Aiden felt the room tilt. The fire had been one of the worst tragedies in the city's history. 14 dead, dozens injured, an entire investigation office destroyed. But what was worse, a man had been convicted for starting it. A janitor, a quiet, reclusive older man named Harris Cole. A man who always claimed he was innocent. The stranger watched realization wash over Aiden. They needed someone to blame, someone invisible, someone disposable. Aiden's pulse quickened. So he was framed? The stranger didn't answer. He simply smirked again, the kind of smile a wolf might give before cornering prey. Aiden's voice tightened. What's on the USB? The man tapped his coat pocket lightly. Enough to kill a dozen people, or clear one man's name. The words hung heavy in the air. Aiden felt every instinct screaming that he needed to leave. Now, before he became part of something far bigger than he was prepared to handle. But the stranger wasn't finished. He stepped even closer, so close Aiden could see the faint scar across the man's left cheek. You're gonna take that drive, he murmured, and you're going to choose what happens next. His tone hardened. But make no mistake, Aiden, others know it's missing. They won't stop until they recover it. Aiden's throat tightened. Why give it to me? The man leaned in, eyes locked with his, voice dropping to a whisper that felt heavy with hidden meaning. Because the man they killed trusted you. A beat. And because he wasn't supposed to find me before you did. Aiden's blood ran cold. Before he could respond, the stranger stepped back into the shadows, slowly, silently, until his entire silhouette dissolved into the darkness like he'd never been there at all. Not a sound, not a trace. Aiden stared at the floor, at the small USB lying in the dust, glowing faintly under the flickering light. He felt like reaching for it would set off a chain reaction no one could undo. His hand shook as he lifted it. The warehouse groaned around him, the wind, the beams, the distant rattle of metal. But beneath those sounds, something else stirred. Footsteps, multiple, fast, closing in. Aiden spun around. Shadows shifted at the far end of the hallway. 4 figures moving in formation. Black attire, gloved hands, faces masked, weapons drawn. Not police, not thieves. Something far more dangerous. Aiden realized immediately they weren't searching the warehouse. They were searching for him, and now they had found him. As the masked figures advanced and Aiden backed into the cold corridor wall, the USB burning like a secret in his palm, one question echoed through his mind louder than the approaching footsteps. How do you run from a truth that has already marked you? If your pulse is racing and you're gripping onto this story as tightly as Aiden clutches that USB, kindly comment, I won't miss part 5 below. Share this unfolding mystery with someone who loves gripping crime stories. Subscribe to Crime Chronicles TVC and turn on the notification bell, because the next part dives even deeper into the criminal maze, where survival is no longer guaranteed. Aiden's breath came in quick, sharp bursts as the masked figures closed in, their footsteps echoing through the hollow warehouse like a countdown to something irreversible. His fingers clenched around the USB so tightly that the edges dug into his skin. He didn't know what scared him more, the men advancing with military precision, or the truth he now held in his hand, small enough to lose, powerful enough to destroy lives. One of the masked men raised a hand, signaling the others to halt. The message was clear. Aiden was not to be killed, not yet. But then another man broke from formation, stepping forward with a confidence that came only from knowing he had the upper hand. Aiden Carter, he said, his voice distorted by the mask but cold, steady, controlled. You have something that belongs to us. Aiden forced himself not to back away, not to show fear. What is this? He demanded. Who are you people? What happened at Riverline wasn't an accident, was it? The man tilted his head slightly, as though impressed Aiden had pieced things together so quickly. The truth, he said calmly, is not your burden to carry. Something about the way he said it made Aiden's stomach twist. These men didn't just want to recover evidence, they wanted to erase everything that pointed back to them, permanently. Aiden swallowed hard. I'm not giving this back, he said, knowing the sentence could be the last brave thing he ever spoke. The masked leader sighed through his distortion filter, as though Aiden's resistance was an inconvenience, not a threat. You don't understand, he said. This isn't about you. It never was. The moment he contacted you, the man took a slow step closer. Your fate was sealed. Aiden felt a flash of anger cut through the fear. Then why kill him? Why come after me? The man paused for a moment, long enough for Aiden to feel the weight of a truth too heavy for the air around them. Because he broke the contract, Aiden blinked. What contract? The masked man lifted his hand and snapped his fingers. Instantly, the others stepped aside, creating a narrow path through their formation. A fifth figure emerged from behind them. Aiden's heart dropped to his stomach. It was the stranger, the scar across his cheek, the same slow, measured stride, the same eyes that seemed to read everything and reveal nothing. But now, he was no longer hiding. Aiden stepped back instinctively. The stranger didn't chase him. He simply stopped a few feet away, hands in his coat pockets, like this was a casual meeting. You met them sooner than I hoped, he said quietly, but I suppose that was inevitable. Aiden's voice cracked. You told me to take the drive. You told me I had a choice. The stranger nodded. And you do. The masked leader cut in sharply. Don't mislead him. There is no choice. He brings the drive, and he walks out alive. Aiden looked between them, confusion turning into something sharper, betrayal. The stranger raised one hand slowly, and the others fell silent, as if he commanded more authority than they wanted Aiden to notice. Aiden, he said, eyes fixed on him with unsettling calmness. The man who died. He trusted you to finish what he couldn't. These men want the drive destroyed. I want it exposed. Aiden felt his chest tighten. Then why does it feel like you're both lying to me? The stranger didn't answer immediately. He didn't deny it either. A chill sank into Aiden's bones. There were no good guys here. No side to trust. No version of the truth where he walked away unchanged. Just then, a sharp metallic groan echoed through the warehouse. All heads turned. A door at the far end slid open. Floodlights burst inside, white blinding. Voices shouted. Boots pounded against concrete. Uniforms swarmed in. Police? Feds? Someone else? Aiden couldn't tell. Chaos erupted instantly. The masked men turned, pulling weapons. The incoming team shouted commands. The stranger reached for Aiden's arm, not to restrain him, but to drag him toward an exit he hadn't noticed. Aiden jerked back. Stop! Just tell me what's really going on. The stranger leaned in close, his voice low, urgent, and deadly serious. If you open that drive, you will know everything. But once you know, there is no going back. Every truth comes with a price, Aiden. The question is, which price are you ready to pay? Gunfire erupted, screams, shouting, metal crashing, boots scattering. Aiden clutched the USB like it was the last lifeline, tethering him to a world that was quickly collapsing. The stranger vanished into the smoke. The masked men scattered, the armed squad closed in. And Aiden, caught between multiple devils, ran. Out the back door, into the night, into an alleyway drenched in cold rain. His lungs burned, his legs shook, his mind spiraled, but the USB stayed firmly in his hand. He reached a flickering street lamp and slowed, gasping for breath, drenched in sweat and rain and fear. Under the weak light, he opened his trembling palm. The USB glistened. Inside it, apparently, was the truth behind 13 years of lies, manipulation, and murder. The reason a man had died, the reason others had hunted him, the reason nothing in his life would ever be the same. Aiden stared at it, his thoughts racing with the weight of a question he never imagined he would have to ask. If you uncovered the truth behind a crime powerful enough to rewrite an entire city's history, would you expose it or destroy it and save yourself? And now the question extends to you. If you were in Aiden's place, gripping a secret that could tear apart families, governments, corporations, and lives, what would you do? Would you open the drive or walk away forever? Comment your answer below. And if this story has shaken you, if it's pulled you into the darkness and left you questioning everything, kindly comment, I choose the truth. Share this story with someone who loves deep, chilling crime narratives. Like and follow Crime Chronicles TVC and subscribe with the notification bell on. Because the next story might just reveal another truth hidden in the shadows. This is Crime Chronicles TVC, your daily dose of real crime stories. Stay tuned for more gripping tales of justice, betrayal, and survival that will keep you on the edge of your seat.